Should be working. Perfect. Cool. Well, hi everyone, and welcome today to GCES's event with Leon, Building a Brand with Social Media. So today we are joined with Leon, who is a Concordia alumni who graduated in 2019 in building engineering. And while he was still in school, he started Worldwide Engineering, and that was in 2017. And he's seen it grow to the potential and size that it's at today. And it's become pretty huge, with nearly 950,000 followers on Instagram, international recognition, and an influential voice in the discussion of emerging tech. Leon has taught himself how to build a business using social media as the tool to get there. So we're very happy and thankful that he took the time to join us today for this chat, and really looking forward to hearing what you have to say, Leon, and answering all the questions that students asked in the sign up to this event. So about the platform and about you being an entrepreneur. So we really want to keep this an open dialogue. So basically, if you have a question, either throw it in the chat whenever it comes to your mind, or fully just raise your hand using the Zoom functionality at the bottom, and we'll get to you. You know, you could just jump in, unmute yourself, and have this informal conversation, because that's what we're going for. So let's jump right into it. So Leon, thank you so much for your time, for being here. And let's start with just a bit more about your background. So who are you in terms of like your passions, your interests, and what brought you to Concordia and engineering, and then to start Worldwide Engineering?
Yeah, of course, Matt. First of all, before I start talking about myself, just wanted to thank all of you for being here. Wanted to thank you, the team behind you, for organizing this. And I also wanted to take a second just to thank everyone that's actually watching this right now. You have a busy day. You could be doing anything right now with your day. You could be watching Netflix. You could be on YouTube. You could be playing Fortnite or Among Us. You could be doing anything. But you took that time to actually come up here and with the hope of learning something new. So I really want to do this about you. If you have any questions, just like Matt said, just type them in the comment and we'll be answering them as we go. And yeah, let's make this fun. So Matt, to answer your first question, what's my background? So I recently graduated from Concordia University in April as a building engineer, graduating in the middle of what's happening in 2020. And it was a pretty interesting transition from going from student to becoming, a young professional. And to answer your question, what got me into building engineering? What was the passion that drove me there? All my life, I had an inclination towards science. Since I was young, my dad got me a telescope when I was really young. So I had this inclination. As I grew older, I really started becoming interested in renewable energy, And when I was in a phase looking for university, that was around the last year of high school, I saw Concordia in Montreal, Canada, and I saw the program Building Engineering, which was focused on designing the buildings of the future. Renewable energy integrated buildings, net zero buildings. And when I saw that program, I was hooked, I was sold. That was the program I wanted to go in. And I remember that was the only university I applied to. Building engineering was the only program I applied to out of like millions of universities. And that was back when I was in Lebanon, by the way. That was before I immigrated to Canada. And fast forward a few years, we were here, and it's been one hell of a journey, and I'm sure there's a lot to talk about, so I'm not going to spoil a lot. I'll let you lead the conversation and we'll dive into subtopics.
Okay, awesome. And you mentioned how you came into building engineering to work on the buildings of the future, and now you've kind of shifted to a new industry. Can you tell us about that transition and how your mindset changed when you started versus where you are now, and why you started Worldwide Engineering?
100%. And it was a process. When I first started university, I always had this inclination towards entrepreneurship. I remember at some point I applied to District 3. For those of you who don't know District 3, it's the student startup incubator at Concordia. And I remember I was in the process of applying, because I had this idea of like solar panel sweepers. So, because here in Canada, we have a lot of snow. So you can't have someone manually clean them every time it snows. So I had this idea of a robot that sweeps solar panels. And this led me to something else. The more my idea developed, the more it led to somewhere else. And out of coincidence, at one point, I just happened to open an Instagram account where I was just sharing my passion for engineering. I was starting by sharing, about renewable energy and about a few other things that that I was personally passionate in. And this led, like, it just happened all naturally in the fact that a few years later, it was like that was it. If like it was pretty clear after a few years that that was the thing I had the most potential to work on right now.
That's awesome. And when you had those two projects, right? Because you're saying you went to District 3 with this idea, and you also had your Instagram page that you had just started. How did you manage all your time with those two projects, as well as being a student at the same time at Concordia and engineering, which is, as we all know, a lot of work? How did you manage your time through all of that? And when did you decide to cut off the other project to focus on what you're working on now?
That's a great question, and that's a pretty big one too. Because going through the questions for on the Google Sheets, people asked some questions, and I went through and I saw a common theme which people were asking about. How do you find time? Because engineering especially is pretty tough. We have to face it: labs, tutorials, lectures. Like, we probably have one of the toughest programs out there. For me, I believe it's about building small habits of success. So it's the same as working out. It's the same as, reading every day. It's about building small habits of success that with time will compound into building something big. It's also called the Kaizen principle: daily improvements that on the long term will compound into massive change. When someone asks me, how often should I post on Instagram? I personally post right now, today, 5 to 6 times on my business. But when someone is getting started, I tell them, try to post once a day. Literally once a day. If you can't do once a day, do it once a week, but do it consistently. And what that's going to do is that it's going to compound. It's going to build a habit, and it's going to compound. So for engineering students, of course we have very busy schedules, but there's always a way to work smart and to find gaps in our schedule where we can insert those habits of success. We all have time to work out. If the president of the United States, not that one, but the one before, Barack Obama, he would hit the gym 5 times every week. If he has time to hit the gym, I'm sure we all do. You get what I mean? One good book I can recommend, because I want to make this practical for a lot of people, is Atomic Habits by James Clear. It's a book that focuses entirely on how do you build those habits of success. So it's called Atomic Habits by James Clear. I would absolutely recommend it.
Awesome. And in terms of, so you spoke about, some advice to get started, post once a day. Is this what you followed when you started Worldwide Engineering? If yes, can you talk a bit more about your process for actually starting it? So let's say that first 6 months, keeping the motivation up and all that, and then how that led to where you are now.
Yeah, and what's interesting is back then when I started Worldwide Engineering, I was working on a few different things at the same time. So it wasn't like I was entirely focused on Worldwide. I had the solar panel thing. I remember at the same time I was kind of flirting with e-commerce. I was starting some drop shipping stores. I was doing multiple things, and I was just doing enough on everything just to get it running. Because the hardest part about getting a business off or a store off or whatever you want to call it is the friction. In engineering we call it static friction. Once you're past that static friction, that's when it becomes easier to get the ball rolling. So my process was pretty straightforward, man. I've really developed this hardcore routine where I would wake up every day at 6. By 7, I'd be off already on my laptop working, creating posts. 30 minutes on Worldwide Engineering, 30 minutes on the solar panel thing, 30 minutes. And then by 9, it's school time. I'm on campus. And it was a learning journey. A lot of the things I'm sharing now, I didn't know 5 years ago. I had no idea how to create Instagram content. I had no idea how to even do marketing. If you were to ask me 5 years ago, hey, can you do this Photoshop thing? Can you blur this little dot behind me? I'll tell you, I'm not the right person, find someone else. So yeah, it was like, it's a process, but again, the Kaizen principle, small daily improvements that on the long term will lead to a huge change.
Yeah, I'd love to touch upon that a bit more, but before we do have a question from Catalin here today. So feel free to unmute yourself, turn on your video if you want to ask.
One quick question. By once per day, did you mean regular posts like on your feed, or did you mean stories? And how many stories per day if that's not the case?
Definitely posts, because it's the posts that actually get you discovered on the explore page, because the best places to get discovered are the explore page and the hashtags. And stories don't really go there. Stories are more to engage with your audience. It's more for storytelling. It's more to create loyal fans, which is something we're going to tap into. But definitely it's posts, because posts are the things that are going to go reach a new audience. And that's something we'll talk after, strategies, IGTV, reels, the length, all those things. That's something I'd love to tap into a bit later.
Cool. That answers your question. Awesome.
Thank you.
So yeah, where you were going with the question before, how you were saying, you have to learn all these things on the fly. What did you know before actually starting Worldwide Engineering in terms of running a social media business? And what advice would you give to people who want to get into it now, but feel like they don't have the means to because they don't know, for example, Photoshop, like you were saying?
I knew absolutely nothing, like zero. I knew absolutely nothing about social media. It's like ridiculous. And that actually was one of the reasons I failed so early on during my process. I failed a lot, I've done a lot of things, and I'll show you my history of projects. I've done a lot of things, and I was learning along the process, because those weren't failures, those were learning experiences. So to answer your question, I was learning on the fly. So let's say I knew I had to design an Instagram post. I would go on YouTube, how to design an Instagram post, and boom, Canva. All of a sudden, Canva.com, best place to design Instagram posts. Then that was registered in my brain. The next step, the next day, I would look, okay, how do you add a huge text on the image? YouTube that. Then again, you learn. So it's like your brain is the best memory card that exists, and you're just accumulating information every day. And slowly, I started, learning video editing softwares. I started learning Canva. I started learning, public speaking in terms of the camera. I've had a lot of practice. At some point, I was doing YouTube videos for fitness. So I've had some practice, and I'm still practicing, of course. So no one's born with any knowledge. It's something you learn as you go.
Some great points. And you just touched upon you had some videos about fitness, and I see a question in the chat from Chadi about how did the jump rope affect you today? Do you want to touch on that quickly?
Yeah, sure. So just to give people some context, that was like the biggest thing I was doing before Worldwide, and that kind of kickstarted my career as a content creator. If you guys go on YouTube right now, it's going to be super funny. You're going to be a bit shocked. If you go on YouTube, don't close this tab, open it on somewhere else, because I don't want you to go anywhere. Look for jump rope mentor, and you're going to see what's going to pop up. It's going to be me, literally like 50 videos of me doing jump rope tutorials, literally the sport jump rope, doing tutorials. And my videos have like tens of thousands of views, and it literally was what kickstarted my journey as an entrepreneur. And what to answer Shadi's question, at some point I had to make the difficult decision. I was reaching my end years in university. It was getting busier. Worldwide Engineering was picking up, and the jump rope thing was doing pretty well, to be honest. And I had to make the very, very, very hard decision of choosing which lane I was going to pursue. And I think we all know that, we're having this conversation today because I'm Worldwide Engineering, not jump rope mentor, but it's still a deep part of me. And that brings to the idea that a lot of people get stuck, or not necessarily stuck, but they're scared of failure, in the sense that whatever they start today, they think that this is what should lead them to success, or this is what's going to work. And if it doesn't work the first time, then they're either a failure or it's not meant for them. But no, on the contrary, it's insane how much you're going to change over time, especially as a young entrepreneur, and especially when you're getting started, you're going to change a lot. Even Worldwide Engineering, which is kind of an established brand today, it's changed a lot as we went. We've adapted, and it's changed as I changed at the same time. You're only as good as your business. Your business is only as good as you are as an entrepreneur.
And on that note, what advice would you have to people listening in right now who are scared to take that first leap because of the fear you're talking about right now, the fear of failure? And, you know, maybe you could tie in as well how you've learned to deal with your failure and manage it as a way to propel you forward rather than take you down.
100%. And it's a big topic too. You know, how I like to see failure, and actually how I've learned to see failure, is that failures are only test trials. They're only test runs. And that's very marketing of me. It's a very marketing concept. Because let's say, okay, I'm going to give the more engineering example first, then I'll give the marketing example. Let's say you're designing a building. You're designing a beam in your building on design software. And you have your design ready and you click simulation. All of a sudden, the software tells you does not compute. You know, this is not structurally, what's the word? Structurally, whatever that word is. I forgot my structural analysis classes. But you get the idea. What do? You're just going to close your computer and move on? No, you're going to iterate. Maybe that beam was misplaced. Maybe the length, the diameter. So those are all trials. And it's the exact same thing with entrepreneurship. Failures, in a sense, are just hints of what works. And what's important as an entrepreneur is to fail quickly. You need to test quickly and you need to fail quickly. You know, I'm failing so often with worldwide engineering. You know, you might be seeing an established brand, but behind the scene, there's daily tests. Every single day, I try something else. I try a new type of post. It fails. I try a new product launch. And to be honest, like, it fails sometimes. And those micro failures, it's about failing fast. That's why when I tell my friend, that's actually something very interesting my friend told me last time. He was like, if you want to write a book, and I hope you guys write this example down because it's really good. If you want to write a book, try first by selling the cover of the book before writing the content. So make an image, a mock-up of the book with the title, How to Be Innovative in the 21st Century for Engineers. And just put that cover in front of people and see who's going to buy it. Are people interested? If you get good feedback, then write the book. So that's a test. If the feedback isn't positive, you iterate, you test. Maybe that book wasn't the right title for that audience. Maybe the book is just not good at all. So it's about trying to fail fast and micro failure. So don't go build a company, then test it. Test the idea, then build the company.
Amazing advice once again. Thank you so much. And so when you were starting off, I mean, right off the bat, you were building a brand. You know, a lot of people try out Instagram pages and Instagram businesses, but they never really find their brand and I guess their reason why behind everything they're doing, which doesn't lead them to success. How did you go from that engineering student to learning how to build a brand and what a brand means, and also all these marketing things like storytelling?
So do you want to dive more into the storytelling aspect? Like what exactly do you think would be interesting right now to dive into?
So first off, like how to create a brand for anyone listening if they're interested in that. And then that ties into a bit of the storytelling aspect of it. Like they kind of go hand in hand. So storytelling as well.
That's a great question. That's a very good question. And it's something actually I've spent a lot of time researching, reading, and learning. And unfortunately, that's not something that is taught in school anywhere. And it's about the secret of building a brand. You know, why? The world is it's a pretty saturated place. There's a lot of big brands out there. There's a lot of Instagram pages out there. There's a lot of companies out there kind of doing the same thing as you are. So what is going to differentiate you in this vast ocean of brands and people and individuals? It's your branding. And what makes your branding special? It's not what you do as a company. It's why you do it. You know, think about every big corporation out there, every big company. Think Apple, think Nike. What do those brands all have in common? They lead their marketing message. They lead with why do they do what they do. You get what I mean? And that is the heart of storytelling. When you go see Airbnb, you know, you were asking me earlier about Airbnb. How do those brands, and that's how you create a cult. That's how you create a loyal following. It's because people, at the end of the day, they don't want what you do. They want why you do it. You know, and there's a very interesting concept I saw here in the chat. there's a very interesting concept that someone says, start with why. Exactly. Simon Sinek, he has a book. Amazing. I see you, Kathleen. You're writing that. Simon Sinek, he has a book which I would recommend to everyone. It's called Start with Why. And I can actually, if you want, I have a board here. I can like draw something about Simon Sinek's his concept. It's honestly super interesting.
Yeah, go for it if you want to draw it. I see.
Yeah, the circle. There you go. I see Kathleen there. He knows what I'm talking about. So there we go. Let me do this board thing. I hope my laptop doesn't. For those of you watching, by the way, my computer right now is sitting on a box on one of those big Amazon boxes, and it's literally sitting, and I'm standing up because I prefer standing up when speaking. So yeah, so right now it's like that. Whatever concept I'm talking about, it's inspired by Simon Sinek's book, Start with Why, which is basically what makes certain companies legendary. And his book is the 3 circles. There's a 3-circle phenomenon that some companies follow. I'm actually so happy because this is about to turn into a lecture. So imagine 3 circles, one after the other. Can you guys see this? Is it clear?
Yep.
So here in the middle, we have why. Let me change this. We have the why. And here we have how. And here we have what. So what's interesting about this, and which is a flaw I see very often, and that's very common, is that most companies out there, when they're speaking with their audience, when they're speaking on social media, their website, they start with what? What are the features? What are the services they give? For Apple's example, for computers example, let's say, we have the world's fastest processing power computer built in with artificial intelligence to help you process your information faster. How? We use state-of-the-art technology that uses crystal minerals. And how, a lot of times, the how here in the middle is what brands forget. So why is this important for consumers? But what Apple does right, and all those legendary companies, what they do right is that they start their marketing message with the why, and they move on to the why. So this is how the arrow moves. That's the communication arrow. How does Apple speak to their customers? They say, we believe in creating the leaders of tomorrow. This is the why. That's what we believe in. We do that by creating the world's best computer that will serve you on your mission to change the world. How much more powerful is that than saying we have great computers that are powered by artificial intelligence that will help you make your work faster? Do you get what I mean? And that's exactly what I've been trying to do with Worldwide Engineering. And it's one of those things that I'm really kind of proud about, that in the last few years, I was really able to embed Worldwide Engineering with a deeper sense of meaning, which is why a lot of people that follow Worldwide Engineering are here today. That's why they've decided to trust me and to come up on this Zoom call and listen to me. It's not because of what I do, it's because of why I do it. And that's what attracts a crowd of people that also believe in what you do. So to make this practical for people, I would really invite you, before you even start a company, before you think what you want to solve or what you want to do, ask yourself why. And the best way to find your why is to dig inside yourself. What is it that you're passionate about? We all have deep passions at the end of the day. We all want to change the world. We all want to make an impact. We all, it's different for every person, but we all have those very personal desires. And the best way is to find yours, then project that onto a company.
Thank you so much for that lecture. We're learning a ton about marketing. It's amazing. But so how did you reach that deeper sense of being with your audience? Like, when did you realize that you need to start storytelling and then implementing that? And as well, a follow-up question to that is, how can people listening now take their business, if they have one now, or their future business, and start storytelling with it?
So how did I find that in my business? How did I start implementing that? It was a process, man. Again, it was a process. I did not start knowing all those concepts. I really didn't. And as you go, that's the thing with entrepreneurs, they apply, they don't learn. It's not like we're not sitting in a lab where we're studying theorems and then go out on site applying them. As entrepreneurs, we're on the site figuring out what to do. And I remember at some point, I knew my priority was that I wanted to fortify my sense of branding with worldwide engineering, because I was in a crowded niche. I was in a very crowded niche, and I was not the biggest account out there. There were bigger accounts. So my focus was, how do I differentiate worldwide engineering from all the other engineering accounts that are posting very similar content? And that journey has been transformative. Like, I remember this happened exactly 2 years ago. That's when I rebranded my logo. That's when I rebranded my mission statement. That's when I rebranded my style of creating content. And if you were to ask me today, what was the best decision I've done in terms of business, it was this rebranding I've taken that has really helped me create this solid foundation. Because brand is like a foundation to a business. If you have a weak brand, it's only a matter of time until Amazon comes in and creates the same product as you, but for cheaper. You know what I mean? And the last thing you want to be competing on is price. You want to be leading, like Apple. They sell the world's most expensive phones, but people still buy them. I have my iPhone just there sitting on the table. It's ridiculous if you ask me. $1,000 iPhone. But people buy them because they believe in the vision behind Apple. I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, for sure. And Catalin has a question. I was supposed to get to him right before I asked you this one, but go for it.
You explained that we shouldn't be afraid to develop our brand, to share posts, to share stories. You said that not to be afraid about the market saturation, that we should differentiate ourselves with our why. But what happens when you go on Instagram and you see so many other accounts bigger than yours that seem to share the same why? They want to show others how to develop software. They want to empower other developers to create. And well, you're not alone. There's, I think, 300, 500 pages with 10,000, 20,000, 30,000 million followers, thousands of million, depending on which one you look at. And you're like, well, here I am with my regular personal account of 300 and my public one of 10.
Right.
What do I do now? You understand? So how do you fight that fear when you see others who are pretty much doing the same thing you want to do, and they already have huge advantage over you?
That's a great question. By the way, your cat is super cute.
Thank you.
No, that's a really good question. And that's one I've personally asked myself a lot. And the beautiful thing about the world we live in today, 2020, the 21st century, is that it is constantly changing. And the goal is to create content today in an industry that's developing. Because of course, if you establish yourself in an industry that's already matured, you're too late. And it's a bit too late. So your goal is to kind of try to project where is the industry heading, and to create content that's going to, or to create a company that's going to fill this growing market. So for example, let's take the engineering niche, for example, because it's a pretty saturated one. It's huge. There's a lot of people, like engineers are a huge part of the global population. There's just a lot of engineers out there. There's a lot of companies. It's very saturated, and it's a pretty traditional industry. It's been around for hundreds of years. So like talking about a saturated market, engineering is one. What would I do if I was today going into the engineering market? I would probably look at some of the trends that are happening in terms of content consumption, because right now we're talking about content mostly. Where are people consuming the most content? I would start looking at TikTok, for example, an emerging platform. I would start looking at podcasting, which is by far one of the most underrated platforms that exist in the world. And that's why I'm going hard on my platform. You know, I would start creating content that's not still out there. For example, if you've seen Worldwide Engineering, you've probably noticed some of the data visualizations we've made. Actually, let me change my view here. Sorry, guys, just changing my view. Yeah, so you've probably noticed the data visualizations I did. And that by far was the best content I've ever started creating. It's literally garnered me millions of views and has been featured in a lot of large media outlets. So it's about keeping an eye on the market and jumping on trends when you see them coming that are relevant for your industry. Did that answer your question, Caitlin?
Yes, it did. So jumping on trends ahead, not try to do the same thing that already exists. That's the tough part, finding something that's emerging, but that's not exactly. Yes, TikTok is one of them, but that's not Instagram. It's opening on a new platform that's not yet saturated.
But still within Instagram, there are different niches that are developing. So there are platforms that are evolving. There are niches that are evolving. Can I recommend you a book that I think you're really going to love?
Sure.
Blue Ocean Strategy. Blue Ocean Strategy. The whole goal of the book is how do you create a company in uncontested market space? That's what's called a blue ocean. It's full. It's plenty. A red ocean is when it's like full of sharks. It's saturated. It's bloody. That's the saturated industry. Blue Ocean Strategy, for everyone listening, absolutely great book. And I've personally read it and I've applied the concepts in there on everything I'm doing, actually.
Nice. So, Calvin, does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Amazing. And talking about trends, how has social media as a business for you changed when you first started to where you are now? Like, what are the big trends that you've seen and that you think are coming for the future?
Definitely, the social media landscape is changing so fast. Back when I started, IGTVs didn't exist. Instagram Reels didn't exist. That was recent. Shopping on Instagram didn't exist. The shopping tab, that didn't exist. TikTok was still Musical.ly back then before it was acquired. Podcasting was still like really, really at its infancy. It existed, but it was very niche. LinkedIn was like this place where you would only put your CV up and hope that someone was gonna message you one day, But today, look at LinkedIn. It's literally a social media, like Instagram and Facebook and all those. It's constantly changing, and that's one of the hard things of being on social media is that you constantly have to adapt to this changing landscape. And it's good and bad. It's good for nimble people like us that are able to quickly adapt and jump on trends. And it's bad for established businesses that have a very solid structure and are not able to adapt. What's an example? Because Worldwide Engineering is still a small company in the sense where, I'm here still making the major decisions. I don't need to get the approval of a board or investors to get things. I can get content quickly rolled out. The day Instagram Reels came out, I started posting on it. And there's a very interesting trend that happens. Every time a new feature is introduced on every social media, including Instagram, TikTok, TikTok, YouTube, every time there's a new feature, the algorithm favors that feature because they want to push it. They want people to become adopters of that feature. So right now, the algorithm reach, the organic reach of Instagram Reels is like OP. It's like overpowered. It's like I get 3 times as much views on Reels than I get with the same video posted on just regular square post. Like just because it's a Reels, it gets pushed more. IGTVs are really good. I've noticed a trend. If we're gonna go a bit like more tactical here, IGTVs I've noticed perform the best between 2 to 3 minutes, and they're good for long-term content that are only watched once. So Reels is more you rewatch the same video a few times because Instagram and TikTok actually reward rewatch. So if you rewatch the same video 10 times, that's when Instagram labels that video as good content. IGTV is more length of how much you watch. So if the video is 2 minutes and you watch 50% of it, that's a pretty good sign. On average, when I do those data visualizations for me, my average watch time is between 15 to 20%, which is pretty good. Like if I get 100,000 views on that video, 20,000 people finished that video completely. You know, which is pretty good data that you have. What else? Stories, of course. And yeah, the reach is constantly changing. You know, like yesterday, actually, Instagram was going through some weird algorithm things. I've noticed some of the day, my data, my followers, my reach, it kind of fluctuated. And I actually got a friend of mine, he also runs another big Instagram account. He also messaged me on WhatsApp. He was like, hey, did you also notice this weird thing happening with the algorithm? And yeah, it's always changing, but it's about staying nimble and quickly adapting to those changes. And just the last thing to add, and I think a lot of you are going to find that very relevant. Back in 2017, when I started, you could get away posting once a day. You know, the platform was not as saturated as it is today in terms of content. But today, to get out there, to be recognized, to grow quickly, and to make the most out of that platform, you need to be posting like regularly. Like I'm talking 4 to 10 times a day. Like that's ridiculous, 10 times. But if I had the manpower today to post 10 times every day, I would be posting 10 times. And I've actually read studies that found that posting they've done studies on, there was a marketing firm that did studies on big corporations. Best results come from posting 3 to 10 times. 10 times, more than 10 becomes overkill. Less, you're not taking most advantage of the platform. I think we're getting some...
Yeah, we're getting a lot of chat questions. Jacin, Julia, and Dan, do you all want to unmute yourselves to ask, or do I just go ahead? You can start with Jacin.
He kind of answered my question with the reach with TikTok and Instagram, how it varies nowadays.
Yeah.
Perfect. Julia, do you want to?
Yeah, well, you were mentioning about the differences, Reels, Stories, IGTVs. I always think that people have really small attention spans, because I know I do, and I can't sit to watch through like a 30-minute YouTube video. So do you feel like stories are probably more efficient in that respect?
I mean, there are different types of content. You can compare a 30-minute YouTube interview to a 15-second, behind the scene Instagram stories. And it's very interesting what you've said, is that we've been seeing lately one marketing trend that's been occurring lately. It's been a push towards the two extremes. So we're seeing a big push between the two extremes. So we're seeing more and more short form content, 15-second, quick attention span, TikTok, Instagram Reels, all those things. But we're also seeing a push in long form video content, 3-hour podcasts, 7-hour vlogs. Have you guys seen that, Gary Vee? 7-hour vlog, literally. And we're seeing those, so everything in the middle, it's like the middle class disappearing. It's the same thing. We're seeing every form of content in the middle, anything between 2 to 5 minutes, it's kind of disappearing. So that's why a good strategy would be to have both. In my case, Worldwide Engineering, I have 30-minute podcast interviews that I post everywhere. And then I have shorter form. I'm trying to perfect my strategy on Reels. But then what I do with that long form content is you chop it down into smaller pieces of content. And that's what's beautiful about, for example, having a podcast or having long form content, that you can repurpose it into smaller chunks.
Awesome. The next question, Dan, if you want to ask it yourself. If not, let me know.
I'll go ahead. Thank you. I was wondering what were your sources of income, if it was only the merch on your website or the views that you get on YouTube where you have ads, or if you're also a spokesperson, like what are those sources?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think before I can answer that, I think it would be interesting to go into what are the main ways to monetize on social media, and that's something I'm going to relate in my personal case, how I'm doing it. So there are 3 main ways. Those are like the industry standard, 3 main ways to monetize an audience on social media. It can be either a blog that you have, a YouTube follower, or it could be an Instagram page. The first way is sponsorship. People reach out to you. They want to access your audience, so they pay you for you to put their message out. That's number 1. Number 2 is you sell your own products, or services. So you have your own product and services and you push that to your audience. And number 3 is affiliate marketing. For those of you guys who don't know affiliate marketing, it's basically you selling someone else's product and you get a commission from that. And that's pretty popular. And I've actually tested all those 3 in the past 3 years. I've tested influencer marketing. I've tested affiliate marketing. I've tested brand promotions, and I've tested having my own products. The third one, affiliate marketing, I personally did not like it because I don't think it's the right way to build a brand. Going back to the idea of building a brand, the question from Kathleen, you're basically using your audience to sell someone else's product. Why would you do that? Why would you sacrifice this limited attention, people's limited attention span, and people's trust they give you to build someone else's brand? Instead, what I've done in the past few months is instead of giving my platform, my attention to someone else, I use it to push my own brand forward. So I roll out my own products. I roll out my own services. To talk about the first one before I go into the second one, the first one, which is brand sponsorship. It's a good one and it's very popular. That's what we've been seeing on podcasting. It's big on YouTubers and it's big on Instagram. Brands send you, a product. They might pay you depending on the size of your audience. It's pretty good, but it's short term. So it's a quick flip. It works, but again, I would prefer prioritizing all the limited attention, the limited promotion spots you have to pushing your own product. So number 2, because you can only do so much marketing, or you can do so many call to actions to your audience. Like, hey, we just got this from our sponsor, go buy it. They have a 50% sale. You can only do that so many times before you become, I'm going to say, spammy. So what I would suggest and what I've been doing is you use that limited marketing space you have to push your own products. So to answer your question, I've recently rolled out, it's been only 4 months, I've rolled out my own products. Let me show you. My own merch. It's the first time I've sold about 500 of those in a few months. It was a good test run for my product. It was literally the first product I test on Worldwide Engineering. And it was good data. Again, going back to the trial phase, this was a trial to understand what my audience wants and what they enjoy, what they appreciate. And I've received very good data about this. And it's only going to fortify this belief I had that whatever platform you build, you should push your own products or services. Your products or services can be a lot of things. It can be private coaching. If you're doing fitness, if you're a fitness influencer, if you have a garage shop and you're on Instagram, you're pushing your own services. You can have a product, an agenda, productivity planner. You can have water bottles that are branded. You can have my girlfriend. She has her own branded jump ropes, for example. She's a micro-influencer on Instagram. Products and that. And
I didn't get that. Could you try again?
Sorry, that was my Siri.
No problem.
I think she has a question for us too.
By the way, I want that agenda. If you have someone coming to Lebanon, please.
Deal. I'll make sure to get one to you. I'm gonna figure out a way to get one to you. I promise.
I know you can do stuff. Say hi to Gannet.
Hello.
On the note of monetization, we have another question around that about donations such as Patreon. Have you ever used that? Do you think that's a good source of income as well?
It's a great business model, but I would be careful with it because you want to do Patreon in the sense where you don't want to be, again, that goes back to the idea of branding. Branding is your foundation. It's the most important thing you have. You don't want to be that brand. Like, for example, there's a lot of YouTubers that are like, hey, buy our new or support us on Patreon. It helps us grow the brand. It helps us bring more content to you. It helps us. That makes the messaging about the content creator, but instead the messaging has to be towards the consumer. So the business, the idea of Patreon and supporting, it's a great business model, but I would reword it. Instead of asking for donations to support the brand, I would twist it and make it in a way where, hey, we have this for you, this new program that we have out that's going to help you get your life together, that's going to help you go through university and get A's, and all it's going to cost you is a small fee of $5 a month. So instead of asking for a small donation, a small, just be, help me, it's actual service, and you're branding yourself as a leader in the industry. Because it's actually good to sell. It's weird to say, but it's good to sell, because when you have a product and when you have a service, you are automatically established as a leader in that industry. You get what I mean? So it's better to, and always make the message about your people. What are they getting from the service or the thing they're buying, and not exactly what, like, hey, I'll do more content if you support.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. We have another question from Ali. Feel free to unmute yourself if you want to ask it. Otherwise, so his question is, what are some books to learn the tricks and tips for social media?
Great question. Very good question. And that's actually something I've also very recently. So there's a few, depending on what exactly you're looking for. For branding, so if you're still in the idea phase, you're not sure exactly what to do, I would recommend, of course, Blue Ocean Strategy. That's going to really help you identify your market, understand your consumer, and how you should tailor your marketing message. Number 2 is Building a Story Brand by, someone can look it up. Building a Story Brand. Story Brand by Donald Miller. There we go. It's a great book, and it's all about branding. It brings back to the concept of finding your why, how to speak to your consumers. The third book I would recommend, which is more transactional, so it's going to teach you how to monetize an audience that you have, and it's actually a book that I have here right now on me. I usually carry it around, and it's called Traffic Secrets by Russell Brunson, if you see it right here. It's actually, the book is all about how do you actually create an inflow of people into your business, whatever that is. So let's say you have a business. How do you get people coming inside your business, inside your website, coming through your restaurant, coming through to your Instagram page? And it covers a lot of, it's very tactical. It's like a field guide. And it's all about, and Russell Brunson, for those of you guys who don't know him, he's like the king of marketing. Like, if there's someone that's perfected the art and the formula of marketing, it's him. And it's all about learning from the best. Everything I share right now, I definitely didn't figure out in the lab somewhere. I'm just building on top of the shoulders of giants, and I'm just trying to iterate and make it better. So those are 3 books: Blue Ocean, Building a Story Brand, and Traffic Secrets.
Nice, thank you. Another question, we have a bunch from the chat, which is really nice to see. This one, it's from Arte Aaron. Feel free to unmute yourself if you want to ask it. If not, I'll go for it. Wait a couple seconds. All right, I'll do it. So he's saying, if I wanted to make a productivity app for mobile, what would you recommend to make it happen?
In terms of building, I'm not sure. Again, I don't have that background. But what would I recommend to market? That's where I think I have experience in. How would you market your app? Something underpriced right now. So right now I'm going to talk about marketing. Something that I would invite everyone to really consider as part of their big marketing strategy is influencer marketing. I found that influencer marketing is by far the most underpriced or best performing marketing channel out there. So what is influencer marketing? It's when you send a product to an influencer. It can be micro-influencer, 5,000 followers, or it can be an influencer, 50,000 followers. You send them a product. Sometimes you pay them. What they do, you sign some form of contract, and they mention you. They create a post and a story for you. And I've noticed that influencer marketing performs much better than other marketing channels. So to give you an example, this year, for my agendas, I've spent over $5,000 on Facebook ads. Facebook ads work, it helped me collect data, and I was getting on average 1.5 to 2 return on investment. So for every dollar I would give Facebook, I would get $1.50 and 2, which is fine. It's good. It's just right to help me cover my other costs. But influencer marketing, which I've done a lot this year, I was contacting some of the biggest influencers in the engineering space. Influencer marketing campaigns would generate 2 to 3 times that amount of revenue. So in case of the app, what I would recommend, I would hit up every micro influencer in your industry. I would try to get them to, you give them free lifetime access to your platform. If it's relevant for them, they're gonna say yes. Like me, let's say consider me an influencer, even though I don't consider myself an influencer. Let's say I'm an influencer, I had 100K followers. If you have a service that's gonna bring value to my life, and you approach me in a way that's, you do it well, I'm gonna say yes. Why not? I would love full-time lifetime access to your productivity platform that's gonna help me in my business. So you hit up every influencer in your niche, and you give them free access to your platform. You could sign a contract with them. You could ask them, hey, do you mind, could we be part of this deal? Could you do 2 stories and 1 post? For me, when I sent my agendas to influencers, I was very casual about it. I was just hitting them up on Instagram, taking their mailing address and just sending them the agenda. And I wouldn't even mention, please tag me if you want. But the few who tagged me really drove a lot of traffic into my website. So influencer marketing is a big one. And you should never be scared of paying, by the way. It's a lot of times you'll get good, again, it's underpriced. So if for every dollar you spend, you'll make $3, go for it, because that's how you scale. Second thing is you should definitely understand Facebook ads. Facebook ads is a very powerful marketing channel, and I'm not gonna go into it right now, but definitely learning Facebook ads is just go on YouTube. There's a bunch of good tutorials, and it's a skill set by its own, YouTube, Facebook ads. So that's what I would do for the marketing. And in terms of monetization, I would definitely go with a subscription model. So if you go, for example, on an app store, sometimes you see there are apps that you buy one time, so one-time purchase. There are other apps that you pay a subscription model. What's interesting and what's become very popular in the marketing world lately is subscription models. So instead of charging $30 for lifetime access, you pay $2 every month. And what that does is by having a subscription model, you're able to know exactly how much money is coming into your business every single month. And with that, you're able to create a budget. If $2,000 are coming in next month, you can allocate $1,000 for a budget. So it becomes like a machine where it's fueling itself. You know exactly how much is coming in, and you reinvest that into the machine. So I would definitely go with a subscription model. And that's actually the next phase for Worldwide. I have a lot of big plans, but they're all going to revolve around having a subscription model.
I'd love to dive in more to your future plans, but before we do, I know it's 2:00. Let's go with 2 more questions from the audience, and then we'll jump into that. So Julia, I see you have some more. You want to ask them?
Yeah. One of the questions I had was, you mentioned Facebook ads, and then it got me thinking about different platforms. Do you think one platform is maybe better than the other, or maybe some platforms are better tailored to certain businesses?
Yeah, that's a great question. And as of 2020, Facebook ads has by far the best ads platform. So by Facebook ads, I mean Facebook, Instagram, because Instagram is part of the Facebook network. So Facebook by far has the best ad platform. You'll get the best return on investments there and the best targeting. I'm able to know exactly, Facebook knows you better than you know yourself, which is scary to say, but it's true. I would only start looking at other platforms when you want to scale. I was actually listening to a podcast 2 days ago, and which is pretty crazy when you think about it, but the guy, Brendan Bouchard, also one of the top marketers out there, he was saying, if you're not spending $10,000 per month on Facebook ads, you're considered a small advertiser. So small advertisers on Facebook are anything 10,000 and less. So just imagine how big the platform is. So I would learn to master that first, Facebook ads.
Cool. And the last question we'll be taking from Mued. If you want to unmute yourself and ask it, go for it.
Yeah, I was just wondering if you still give time to the stuff you learn in school that's like SolidWorks or design or programming and stuff like that.
So what do you mean exactly?
Yeah, so like I know engineering school is very hard and you spend a lot of time in your classes. So I was just wondering how you link that to your business that you have right now. So let's say you go after 3 to 4 years, you think I should get a job, right? But then these technical skills might have degraded by that time. So what do you think about that?
Yeah, that's a good question. And that's when I firstly thought about it a bit. So thanks for the question, Muid. No, I haven't been using my skills because everything I've learned in engineering in terms of technical skills, I'm not really applying. What I have learned though from engineering, which is pretty important, is that I believe that the best entrepreneurs are the ones that come out of engineering school, because engineering really wires you to think in a problem-solving way. Everything we deal with in engineering is problem-solving. And what do entrepreneurs do? They solve problems. So it really rewires your brain in a way where problem solution. So I probably wouldn't be doing worldwide engineering or any other business if you asked me if I didn't go through the process of going through engineering. And I'm sure one day the technical skills I'm going to use are going to come in handy, but I don't personally sit down on AutoCAD every morning and just open up a architectural file.
Amazing. So we'll end it there for the audience questions because we are a bit high on time. But thanks everyone for all the amazing questions. Really great. And just some closing remarks. So you touched on the plans for the future. I'd love to dive in a bit more on that, what you have planned in the next couple of months and maybe even years up ahead for worldwide engineering.
There's a lot of things. There's a lot of things. First of all, which is something I've noticed that's under-tapped in the engineering market, and that's actually a growing trend for everyone listening right now. Podcasting is by far one of the most stable growing industries out there. And I definitely have my eyes on podcasting. It's like, I believe podcasting in 2-3 years is going to become as big as my Instagram platform. So it's going to, it's going to merge. And why do I say that? It's because we've been seeing this shift in consumer habit in the last 3 years. If you had asked, I would love to know actually in the chat, who out of you guys listens to a podcast? I'm really curious myself. If you were to ask an audience of 100 people 5 years ago who listens to a podcast, you'd have 1 or 2, people pretty niche, either too nerdy or, you get what I mean, that type of person. But today, podcasting is like radio, listening to the music. Just look how many people listen to the podcast. And I really think it is if I were to start today right now, as let's say I start from a blank sheet, I would start with a podcast. It's under-tapped, it's undervalued. There's a lot of potential, and it's a growing market that's easily monetizable. What do I mean by this? When you see companies like Spotify buy rights to the Joe Rogan experience for $100 million, that is an example, that is a hint of the potential there is in that industry. We see celebrities now. Back in the days, when a celebrity would come up with a new book or a new fitness plan or a new product, what would they do back then? They would go on TV shows. They would go Good Morning America. They would go on all those TV shows. Do you know what they do now? They go on podcasts. They go on the Joe Rogan. They go on the New York Times podcast. They go on all those big podcasts. So we're seeing this shift. And you want to be the creator, not the consumer. I always believe that. And I think everyone can become a podcaster. It's a skill that you learn. It's something you you learn, you become better. I remember my first podcast, it was very awkward. It's pretty awkward. I was pretty bad at it. I was asking not weird questions, but it was the beginning. It was the start, and you can only get better. It's a skill that you train. And third point, which I think is pretty important, is that podcasting is by far the best way to build a solid relationship with your audience. It's better than Instagram. It's better than TikTok. It's better than any other medium. Everyone here listening right now to us, you've built a deep foundation with me, with Matt. You have a sense that you know me, you know my voice, you know my intonations, you know how do I speak, you know my body language. And I feel all those things, they build a closer relationship to the person, to your consumers, So definitely podcast. And now we get into the whole idea of how do you grow a podcast, which we can make another conference about.
I need to do that next semester. So some last words before we close it off. What advice do you have for aspiring entrepreneurs, and specifically in STEM fields right now?
There's a lot of things I'm thinking about, but to be practical, I would say whatever you're trying to develop in terms of product, if you want to talk about product development, I would say go digital. So whatever you're trying to do, like, the physical world is saturated. The digital one is not really. So whatever you're trying to come up with a digital product. But by digital product, I don't only mean ebooks or online courses. I mean applications, like I think Dan said. It can be online softwares. My last podcast guest, he's the CTO of Drone Deploy, which is a drone automation software, and they have a recurring subscription model that business owners buy from them. They pay $200 a month to have access to this platform. It's a great business model. And the thing with the online world is that the scalability is infinite. It costs you the same amount of money to have one customer as it is to have 100 customers, literally, when you think about it. So I know a lot of us you're probably thinking how to develop, you're probably thinking of developing a product. And that's one thing I would tell myself, Leon, 5 years ago. Forget the idea of developing solar panel sweepers. Instead, develop a software that's going to optimize energy consumption for solar panels. Not necessarily a software, but something in that world.
Some great advice, especially what you're saying. There's so much noise in the physical space already going digital.
Look at your friend
Justin.
He's developing a software.
Yeah.
He has a great business.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's amazing what you can do with software. It's pretty cool. But Leon, thank you so much for your time. This was so much fun. Super cool guy to speak to. It's amazing to hear about everything you've accomplished so far since you started Worldwide Engineering in 2017 while you were still a student in engineering. So it's pretty incredible. And I'm really excited to see where you're going to take it. Probably some big things in the pipeline, and it's going to take off. But yeah, thank you so much again.
Yeah,
we're really happy you took the time to do this. And everyone in the audience, thanks a lot to you as well for being really interactive. This was really cool how, everyone unmuted themselves and showed their faces too. Makes it a lot more informal and just way more laid back.
Before you go, also, I just wanted to thank the audience. Thank you all for being here, for listening to me. You guys are all awesome. If you have any question from me, just reach out to me on Instagram. My personal Instagram account is Leon Abboud. Just reach out to me. Ask me your questions. I'll be answering them tonight. If you have any more questions, I'd love to jump on a Zoom call together just to answer, go more in depth in some things.
Awesome.
What about LinkedIn?
Oh,
yeah, I have
LinkedIn is
good. Question for Matt. Matt, is it possible for me to get access to the video recording or?
Yeah, we'll be posting the recording.
I think he talked gold now.
Yeah, for sure. So we'll be posting the recording on our Facebook page, and in the community Slack, we'll send a link in there. And we'll also be posting all of Leon's links with that as well. So if you want to check out what Leon is working on and follow him along his journey, because it's going to be a very interesting journey, check that out as well.
Thank you very much.
I'm just gonna hop in here before we end it. Yeah, we have a community Slack, and we if you guys want to keep chatting about stuff, we like to invite people after our events to like continue the conversation. So I'll send the link again. Join, chat. We're a bunch of students. There are a few professionals. We're mainly from Montreal, but it'd be great to see some international students join as well. And we're just interested in entrepreneurship, particularly merging it with engineering if possible. So hopefully we'll get some new members and we can get a good chat going. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Have a nice day, everyone. Ciao.
Yo, Eduardo, you're here.
Leon, thank you very much. You have no idea how much I appreciate you helping me. I already ordered that jump rope you recommended, so it will.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. I've seen you doing those tricks, and I couldn't believe it. Like the cross ropes are so heavy, and they hurt so bad when you get hit that I didn't want to try what you were doing. But
yeah, you can't, and they're too fragile. They're too like. Yeah. I've tried actually doing those things. You don't want to throw it around. You're gonna break it. It's too nice of a jump rope.
Thank you very much for the conference. It was great. Also, thank you, Matt. If there are people still here, I wanted to recommend everyone a course that I recently took that helps you improve your Instagram account. I don't know if you've ever heard of Niklas Pede. He's a German kid that's 20 years old who's made like a huge account, and he has a course that's called Instagram University 3.0 that I took, and it's amazing. And if I want to, I can share the link for his course right here, so you can check it out.
Can you type the name of the book in the chat?
Yeah, actually, yeah, please.
Yeah. Let me. And you know what? Actually, I recently found out that I can share a link, like an affiliate link. That means that if you end up deciding to get to that course, I will get a little commission. I mean, I'm not doing that because of the affiliate, just because I took the course and it's amazing. But if you do use my link, you would be helping me. So I would appreciate that a lot.
Yeah, send your link, of course, man. Of course, send your link. Why not?
Give me 1 second. Here it is. So that's a link to get subscribed to his course. But if you want to check his account, I highly recommend you to follow him. I think, let me just check real quick in Instagram.
I might know that guy. Yeah, I've seen him.
Give me 1 second. There we go.
What did you guys think of the chat?
That's his account. I took his courses and they are amazing. I would highly recommend you all to check them out and follow him. And thank you, Leon, for everything. You are amazing. It was great hearing from you.
Yeah, man. Honestly, great seeing you, bro.
Greetings from Mexico City to everyone.
Awesome. What do you guys think of the talk?
Thank you. Too short. Too short is what I would say.